This, and to start you off with what I hope to be a great weekend is with a character probably very few of you are going to know, and honestly I'm expecting none of you here to know. Yes, of course, with the man himself. Yeah. Okay, so just on a little side note, just because I want to make sure we can get through everything today, and plus I want to make sure all of you are going to have enough time to go to other panels today, there's not going to be a Q&A going to be held. And honestly, quite frankly, even though I know a lot about this, I'm not going to know everything in great detail. So, what do you do? But now then, let's finally now discuss Ogon Batto, aka Golden Bat, the very first Japanese superhero. I'd like to take this moment to give some honorable mentions to the people who helped make this possible. August Ragone and Dan Ross for their vast knowledge of the series, Eric P. Nash for his book, manga Kamishibai, History of Japanese Paper Theater, Stuart Galbraith the book for his, book, and I'm gonna have to read this up here, so sorry. Toho Studio Story, A History and Complete Filmography, Haley Lane, aka Squiggly Did, for the Tumblr page Search for Phantomas, and translations being provided by Jonathan Diaz and Yeo Fujiwara of the Japan Society. Now, to start us off, we need to go all the way back in time. Way before anime, way before tokusatsu, way before anything like that. Beginning with the earliest form of Japanese entertainment, Kamishibai. Also known as paper theater, it was a device that can scroll from one painting to the next, while narrator providing the story, as well as the voices for each of the individual characters. It was very popular in the 30s and the 20s, although especially in the 30s when World War II came around. Majority of these focused on propaganda pieces. However, there were several shonen, boy stories, and shoujo, girl stories, to appeal to a much younger demographic. Now, there were a lot of people who tried to get into the craze. Some failed, some were great successes. And two of those success stories are the founding fathers of the character we're talking about today. First one was illustrator Takeo Nakamatsu. He originally started out in the necktie industry and also studied in college and working for a degree in art design. But eventually he abandoned all of that to pursue a career in Kamishibai. He always viewed it as a work of art and how important it was for them to grow, for young children to grow up and be entertained by these. And I'm going to read you off from the interview that he exactly said. When I think of these children later growing up to be honorable Japanese adults, it made me realize the significance of creating Kamishibai. Now bear in mind, during this period, Japan had just become a second world power. A middle class was just being formed, and the modern era of Japan was finally being molded right around the time the Great Depression began. Now the thing is, a lot of the items, as well as other items that they got were foreign trades from other countries. But since they could not have those, it led to a huge economic crisis. So during this time of Great Depression and struggle, it was important for the younger demographic, or younger generation, I should say, to still grasp onto imagination and still dream big, which is what I think Nakamatsu had in mind when he decided to go into the industry. And that shows because over time, Ogon Batto was very popular with the younger demographic, and popularity grew and grew and grew, but it was a little bit too much for the guy to handle. Because over time, he couldn't work the capacity as demanded by the company that he worked under. As such, a lot of other people had to take his place in illustrating his Kamishibai when he simply couldn't. To make matters worse, anyone else who tried to present the kids would boo them out of there because in their mind, it wasn't the real Ogon Batto because they were that attached to Nakamatsu's art style. And while Nakamatsu deserves a lot of the credit, there is one other man that really deserves a lot of credit, and that would be writer Ichiro Suzuki. I can't go into too much detail about him, but thanks to the autobiography by Koji Kata, who we're going to get into a little later, shed some light on the man. He was almost the polar opposite of Nakamatsu. He originally started out in the industry when he was 26 years old, whereas Nakamatsu actually started when he was only 13. And unlike Nakamatsu, Suzuki actually started out as a baker. But due to the physical activity as such, it wasn't a job he exactly enjoyed, preferring a more easygoing job like writing. And also, unlike Nakamatsu, who was a big show-off, like I'm talking about the guy who would just go into interviews, all highlighted and all just like, yeah. Suzuki kept more of himself and wasn't much of a talker. Now, one of the things that I've learned about when it came to Kata's autobiography is that Suzuki actually described how his writing style was like, and that it wasn't really a story, but he was just telling basic tidbits of information and how each panel of Kamishibai was shown. This may also give us a little insight of how Kamishibais work, in that they usually drew up the paintings first, and then the treatment or script or whatever that they used would come second. For any of you comic book fans here, this is actually the same method that Marvel would use in the 60s, known as the Marvel method, where Stan Lee and Steve Ditko would draw up the panels, and then I meant Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko would provide the panels, while Stan Lee provided the dialogue. Now, let's finally go into what these two men unleashed upon the world. Debuting in 1931, Ogon Batto set the story about the protector of Atlantis who rose from his grave uncovered by Dr. Gamatome and schoolgirl Emily in order to thwart the diabolical budget of Dr. Nazo. Now, what made this one so unique from other Kamishibai at the time was the style of combining Japanese paint art style along with Western pulp fiction stories. Here, so I apologize for that. Now, each story followed a traditional formula, but there was one other thing that made this one really stand out from others at the time, and that was its theme of struggle, trying to beat the odds even when they seemed to be at their most bleakest. Something that Nagamatsu and Suzuki really wanted to play up in their stories, and it definitely shows. Now, getting into the character himself, there's actually very little information that we know of when it came to the design of the character. Some people have stated that it may have been Phantom of the Opera, which serves as an inspiration for his design, which, to be fair, is a reasonable comparison, but that's not set in stone. However, what is possibly set in stone, or at least a more likely example, was how the namesake came. And that was from a very popular product from Japan in 1916, and still goes on today. The thing is, said product was a particular brand of cigarettes, the cheapest Japan had for a century. Also known as Kinshi, aka flying kite. A 20-pack would only cost you $1.40 here in America. However, it lost the title of being the cheapest in April 2016 when the tax rose. And as you can see here, our favorite gold skeleton is making sure he advertised where he got his namesake. And bear in mind, he's a character that was made for a much younger demographic. Compare that for 1 second to, say, other childhood heroes. So you see nowadays would either advertise themselves through, say, toys, crappy pricey fine cereal boxes, or fruit snacks. Back then, I don't know, they had smoking. Hey, it worked for the Flintstones. They know everything to do what's right for them. That's probably true. Yes, on to the character himself. Now, interesting with the character is that originally he appeared more looking like a long-lost member of the Three Musketeers, but with the 60s he gained a more recognizable gold skeletal-esque look with a Dracula-esque cape, as seen by this fantastic man over here. Yes. Exactly. Now, he sadly isn't as well known as, say, Kamen Rider or Ultraman or Super Sentai, but still, he has a very significant appearance, and he has vast amounts of abilities. He was a master at swordsmanship, he was able to fly, and he had super strength. He even also had a Fortress of Solitude in the Iron Mountains, which to make sure Nazo never got his secret identity. I can't help but feel like I've heard that before. I mean, is it just me? Because I swear, there was another hero from the 30s that had that exact same background. No?
Who's that?
No, I'm the only one?
Who was that?
You don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, well. Alright. Okay, to be fair, there is no proof whether or not creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster stole the idea for Ogon Batto. In fact, Cologne was actually more based around pulp fiction characters like Buck Rogers. Plus, it's also true that it's also possible that these ideas probably came after Superman was a fact. Still, though, it's a pretty big coincidence, don't you think? But speaking of which, Ogon Batto actually owes a lot when it comes to superheroes. Now, many would give him the props of being Japan's very first superhero. I, however, argue that he may have been the very first modern superhero. Now sure, characters like, say, Buck Rogers or Zorro came way beforehand, but this was, or at least in my ongoing recollection, was the first to combine all the classic tropes that we associate with superheroes to become the traditional formula that we think of today. A hero with a signature design, side characters putting themselves in the line for what's right, or being idiots depending on your jurisdiction. A villain who would always try to conquer the world, no one has to stop him, you get the idea. And bear in mind also, this was 3 years before what is considered to be the very first modern superhero in Mandrake the Magician. Now then, on to the side characters. I'm not going to try to go through all of them because that would not only take all day, but each character in each installment is different depending on what you're going into. However, some of them did follow traditional tropes that would be associated with the series. First of these would be Dr. Yamatome, voiced in the anime by Ichiro Murakoshi. He followed the trope of the scientist who would free Ogon Batto and would willingly help him by either trying to make plans in order to stop one of Nazo's plans, or trying to see if they can at least halt it off until he arrived. The other was the scientist's son, Takeru, voiced by Kazue Takahashi. He was the adventurous young boy who would willingly go into battle to save his friends and family. And then finally, there's the young innocent girl who would always summon Ogon Batto, whether by giving a prayer, calling out his name, or shedding a tear. Now, in the Kamishibai, it was the schoolgirl Emily, but I'm going to use the most prominent example here, being the French-Japanese girl Marie, voiced by Minoru Matsushima. However, in the later episodes, she was replaced by Yoko Kuri. Now, next thing to note is that all these voice actors I just mentioned went on to work on the popular Doraemon series. You know, that series about that blue cat thing. Yeah, I think some of you probably have seen that before. Now, side characters are great and all, but as we all know, for every great hero, there is also a great villain. More specifically, Dr. Enric Nazo, the leader of the Intergalactic Crime Syndicate, and with their hell-bent faction of taking over the world. Of course! Now, there really isn't much in terms of the character's backstory, as most of the time they kept it a mystery. In fact, the word Nazo means mystery in Japan. However, in one of the mangas, specifically by Koji Kata and Daiji Kazumine, who again we'll get to later, go a little bit more in depth with this. He was an alien from outer space who came to attack the city of Atlantis 1,000 years ago prior to the modern day, but was stopped by Ogon Batto and sealed into a meteor around Earth's orbit. But now he is free and seeks vengeance and to continue with his quest for world domination. Now, Nazo and his crime syndicate represent another element from Ogon Batto, and that was its usage of symbolizing world terrors. Now, some have stated that a certain amount that his crew were probably more based around, say, Nazis. However, this was 4 years before Nazis came to be. However, I can see how later stories would probably take inspiration off of them. As you can see, they would utilize a certain Nazi salute. But they were more based. Yes. But they were more based around just terrorists all around the world than just one particular one. I know this too because there was one group of Nazo's henchmen who wore a particular white cloak. Yeah, moving on. Let's not try to go into that. Alright, now, as you'd expect, with his popularity growing, it was no surprise that merchandise would come along and selling like hotcakes, that Ogon Batto would try to delve into other pieces of media. Bear in mind, though, that a lot of the merchandise, as seen here with a couple of these toys, were done without Nagamatsu or Suzuki's permission. Back then, copyright wasn't as big as a thing as it is now, especially in Japan. Now, before I begin, I want to ask you all guys one quick question. Who here knows the very first live-action superhero? Yes?
Let's see, on TV there was Supergiant, no, not Supergiant, on TV there was Moonlight Max, or Gecko Comic. I can't remember which of them was first.
Gecko Comic was the first television series in Japan, but you are correct the first time. And that was 1957's Supergiant, aka Starman. There are 9 films in the series, and all meant to cash in on the success of George Reeves' Superman. Now, it also starred Kid Utsui, who wasn't exactly happy to work under that. It was very popular with Japanese housewives because of Supergiant's physique, and also the producers having the great idea of putting foam in a certain private area. Yeah, that's pretty much speaks for itself. The films aren't much, but they at least hold a special place when it comes to Japanese superhero history. Or do they? Because 5 years prior to that, Ogon Batto made his debut on the silver screen with Phantom of the Skyscraper. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about this one in great detail because it's currently considered to be lost. Only images and tidbits of information are the only thing that can give us an idea of what the film is like. Now, it was directed by Toshio Shimura and was more based on the Kamishibai. And not only does it star our favorite Gold Skellington, but it also had a very special place in Ogon Batto's history because it starred popular J-pop star Hibari Misora. Now, a little bit about Hibari Misora, born as Kazue Kato. She started in the industry at the age of 9 due to appearing on the Nippon Public Broadcasting Corporation with the approval of her parents. Now, she was very popular in the 30s and especially in the 40s, and she recorded over 1,200 hits, leading to her delving into film. Now, most of these films that she was in were either from ranging from musicals to dramas. However, this would be her first forte into science fiction. And a shame it had to be the one that was lost. If I could give you guys a little comparison here, they were kind of like a Japanese equivalent of Shirley Temple, if you remember her. In terms of at least how young she was and also her emphasis on going into more scene. Now I'm going to give you guys a little bit more photographs of, from the lost one itself. These are very difficult to try to find, so. Yes, very. Yeah, I had to dig really hard into this. But, despite that the film was lost, there actually was one little bit of information you can get on it. And around the same time, there was also a manga that was created in order to advertise the film. This is the only thing that might give us some insight of what creative liberties the filmmakers took. One of them being that they created a new character called the Jungle King. Another one was Ogon Batto's ability to summon Hanna-Barbera's Godzuki in order to fight the Oh, what else does that thing look like? Yeah, and his ability to summon Godzuki in order to battle the Nazu's mechanical dinosaur. Now, 3 years after this, would see another manga for Ogon Batto, but this one was in the hands of a much more legendary manga artist, Osamu Tezuka, the same one that gave us Astro Boy. And this one was a very diversive entry in the series, because this one had little to nothing to do with the original Kamishibai. None of the characters appear, and Ogon Batto, despite being the title, barely shows up in it, mostly focusing on other characters that Tezuka created. And whenever he does show up, he is very different from his original counterpart. He was more like a thief and a master of disguise who changed his image from one panel to the next. And I'll give you guys we got some sheets. These are the only ones I could find that include Ogon Batto in it, and also give you more of an idea of what kind of characters we were following throughout it. Now, despite their big-time diversities, they still, in a way, still have a special mark in Ogon Batto's history. And another example would be from 1959, a children's manga created by Satoshi Inoue. There were only 3 volumes, and most of them focused around Ogon Batto battling the aliens from outer space or evil crime syndicates. This one, in a sense, can almost be viewed as the precursor to the popular incarnation that probably most of us here would know. And in fact, as you can see from the attire, it's a lot more closer than Tezuka's take, but it certainly isn't the original Kamishibai. I'll give you guys a little bit more panels. These Ogon Batto look definitely now talk about probably the incarnation all of you here will probably know. Now, during the late 50s and all through the 60s was the peak of Japanese science fiction, starting out with Toho's Godzilla films and other sci-fi flicks that were killing it at the box office. So as you can expect, there were several other companies that tried to get in on the science fiction craze. Some of them, like say our good friend Daiei, tried to do a more simpler approach and just create another kaiju film like they did. But there were some that tried to be a little bit more creative with how they handled it. And one of those companies was Toei. Instead of trying to make a kaiju film, they decided to try to bring the superhero genre more mainstream than it probably was back then. And this is where our most famous incarnation of the character begins. Starting with the 1966 film starring Sony Chiba as a means of advertising the developing anime. Now, this one has a very special place when it comes to the character's history because, one, it was the first to introduce the signature design that we all know of, and also was the first to give Ogon Batto his own theme song, which I will play later. Now, I'm really like going off the handles here, guys. But it was more bit. Now, while the story plays out mostly similar to the Kamishibai, it provided enough tension and action to make for a very entertaining flick. And make sure that it just me up here sputtering my lines like an idiot. I'm going to show you guys some clips.
その原石を持って早く行くがよい。しかし我々はここから出ていくことができないんだ。外には敵がいる。我は正義の味方オーゴンバット。叩き潰されるうちに撃ちゃろう。おう、あれがないんだ。
Hey, I never said the effects were good as you movie.
歯向かうつもりか。これはスペックね。
Sony Chiba.
何をしにしてやる。
This movie simply would be, I could use 3 C's to describe it. It's really campy, delightfully cheesy, and a tad bit on the corny side. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. If you ever get the chance, I highly recommend it. Now, some of you actually might have seen this on Fest a couple of times, at least on the G Fest channel that they have every single year. But I was able to get mine via English subtitles, and like I said, it's a ton of fun. I highly recommend checking it out. But let's also now talk about the main actor in the film. Sonny Chiba, born as Sunichi Chiba, started out in 1960 when he was found by Toei. And eventually he went on to become an actor, singer, martial artist, producer, director, you name it. Now in Japan, he's mainly known for the film series Street Fighter. No relation to the video game Street Fighter, although now I kind of wish I would see him using a Hadouken. But here in the USA, you might have seen him as the swordsman Hanzo Ittori from the first Kill Bill film. Now, time to move on to the other thing that the anime was advertised by. But before I do, I want to show you guys a little behind-the-scenes photo I was able to dig up on the film. And that was the suit actor who played Ogon Batto, just goofing around a little bit. But my word, he looks absolutely fabulous. You're welcome. Now, I don't know too much detail about this photo itself. I don't know exactly what kind of thing he's drinking there, but it's probably just something just for giggles. Now, let's move on to the other thing that the anime was advertised for. Now, this manga has the significance of being released under Shonen Jump. Now, this is the same Shonen Jump that gave us Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto. Like, you guys know what Shonen Jump is at this point, I'm taking it. If any of you have seen anime, you're probably familiar with the name. Now, this one was written by Koji Kata and was illustrated by Daiji Kazumine. And this one is a little bit different than how the anime came out. It's a little bit more in detail in how things occurred. And as I stated in the beginning, this is the one where we got the backstory for Nazo. And plus, it's also the only one that was ever reprinted and still available today. Now, to go into the two men who helped make this manga possible, Koji Kata was an interesting fellow. Starting out in the Kamishibai industry at the age of 13, when he made the decision to pursue such, while during the time he was working in a beer factory. The reason is because he lived in a very poor family, and his father could not keep them financially afloat due to unfortunately suffering an illness. So in order to make enough money for them to live in their house, he had to not only work in the beer factory as a full-time job, but he also looked to see if he could pursue an interest in Kamishibai. Now, unlike a lot of individuals during that time period, his parents actually approved of his decision. However, as long as it was only a part-time deal, nothing full-time. And his dedication definitely paid off because he eventually worked with the company on, and I apologize if I'm going to be butchering this. Where is it? Oh, yes, it is. Hanashi no Nihon Sha. I probably said that wrong, but I do apologize regardless. That was responsible for creating the Ogon Batto Kamishibai. Now, he immediately took over the role that Nagamatsu was in, and he was also tutored by Suzuki when it came to overall writing. Now, beforehand, he was inspired by samurai and other science fiction novels in order to get inspiration for how his writing would be, but it really wasn't until Nagamatsu where he would really delve into writing. Now, of course, this later on went to the fact that he eventually got the rights for Ogon Batto and worked with Toei to create the manga. Sadly, though, that would be the only other thing that he would write, as afterwards he became a cultural critic up until his death, which as of March of this year would mark 20 years since he died. Now, when it comes to Kazumine, he was also known as Tarada Kunji, and was born as and I apologize if I'm doing this again, Tarada Kunohari. Now, he was tutored under legendary manga artist Oka Tomohiko, known for the famous White Tiger Mask series. Now, he made his debut in 1956 with a manga known as The Secret of Kurokuru's Mansion. Eventually, he went on to work on several other science fiction, action, and tokusatsu pieces, including, but not limited to, the manga adaptations of Ultraman and Ultra 7, Spectreman, and even work on Supergiant, believe it or not. I'll give you guys a little bit of, just give you guys 2 panels of what exactly you can expect from the manga. But now, it is time to finally discuss what probably most of us are here for, and that is the anime. Airing from April 1st, 1967 to March 23rd, 1968, this in many ways can be seen as the pinnacle for how the character was treated. There were giant robots, there were monsters, there was action. It was all great. It's all great fun. Now, each episode would have Ogon Batto fighting on whatever new plans and Nazo had in mind, and there were a total of 52 episodes. But now, let's finally watch the great theme song. One day I'll learn how to sing that. One day. Oh, and speaking of which, in case any of you are going to decide to try to watch the anime, get your seat in that laugh because you're going to hear it almost every single episode. Especially in the beginning when Ogon Batto barely talks. But speaking of talking, one of the things about Ogon Batto is that he was voiced by a very legendary Japanese voice actor, Osamu Kobayashi. He was mainly known for adaptations of other mangas like Tetsugen 28, and was also the voice, provided the voice for a very popular series, Spaceship Yamamoto. And on a little side note, he was also Commissioner Gordon in the Japanese dub for Batman the Animated Series. So just think about that for 1 second. There was a time when Ogon Batto and Batman were in the same show. Funny that. Now, each episode pretty much plays out the same. Ogon Batto stops Nazo. Alright. But the theme of struggle that Suzuki and Nagamatsu created with Ogon Batto is still felt strong throughout the entire anime. One episode I think of in particular was when Nazo and his crew decided to take natives and enslave them in order to create a robot for them to fight Ogon Batto. Now here's the thing, unlike other episodes where we mostly follow the hero's perspective, instead throughout the majority of the episode, we follow the perspective of these poor slaves who experience what they're exactly going through, whether it be, say, being oppressed by the people that they unfortunately have to work for, they have to watch their family members die in front of them, being thrown around like rag dolls. Now in the end, it still ended the exact same way as other ones, but I do appreciate that the filmmakers were not afraid to do something more diverse. And speaking of diversity, we also have the inclusion of a new character, Ogon Batto's dark doppelganger, Koriyami Bat. Now, he was a character exclusively for the anime, but even though he only appeared in 2 episodes, he definitely made a mark. Now, unlike Ogon Batto, who was created to fight for justice, he was a thief that only cared about himself, which I do kind of wonder if the people behind the scenes were inspired by Tezuka's take in order to create this incarnation, create this character. Now, to explain his backstory, he was sealed up by an Atlantean priest using a certain pendant. So Nazo, thinking, hey, it'd be nice to have the doppelganger of Ogon Batto working for me, freed him from his tomb and forced him to work with him by using the pendant that he had had all those years ago. Mind you, I do not know where he got that from, especially after all those years, but still he has it, and it's mostly played up for drama. Now, the interesting thing about a lot of the villains at the time is that while certain villains and henchmen would usually not try to question who they work for or, just willingly do it, Ogon Batto was forced to work for him. And I do think that sets him apart from a lot of other villains in the 60s. And if he didn't follow him, it probably would have meant death. And also, a little spoilers here, but eventually it did lead to his demise by his heroic counterpart. Now, let's watch some more clips of just Ogon Batto's fight with Ogon Batto. Despite that there are highlights and plenty of very good episodes, as you can see a little bit, the show hasn't exactly aged well. Animation is very stiff, and for a lot of you, 52 episodes of going through the exact same formula can be kind of tiresome, especially since most of the conflicts end for Ogon Batto with him either using Deus Ex Machina or pulling a new ability out of his rear end. Yeah, pretty much. But still, much like the Kamishibai, this anime does have a special place when it comes to the history of superheroes. And that was, if it wasn't for this, we may not have seen the launch of Toei's Engine Hero genre. Now, the same tropes and the same formula that was brought in with this anime would also be used in later shows like, say, Kamen Rider or Super Sentai. Now, bear in mind also that some of the creators who worked on the show went on to work on some of those stuff, as well as adaptations of Go Guide books. I'll give you guys two particular examples that I can think of in a moment. One of them was the writer of the series, Sasuma Takegu, and the composer Shinsuke Kikuchi. Now, it wasn't exactly the first. That would be, of course, as you mentioned, Gekko Kamen, aka Moonlight Mask, which is the first televised tokusatsu series, but it still plays a huge part when it comes to the history of the character. Now, if any of this has interested you, you may be asking yourselves, oh, how do I get into the series? How do I buy it? Oh, you're going to be in for a really rough time. The DVD, the 1966 film, was only released in Japan, and I only got lucky because I was able to find a bootleg of it. Now, the anime had a box set that was released in the early 2000s, but it's out of print, and they demand for very high prices. There's also no exact prints of the other mangas that have occurred afterwards, except of course for the Kodakata and Kazumine adaptation, which hasn't gotten a release here in the US. Okay, so no merchandise, no ways to watch it, but surely there's got to be other ones, right? Like, you think maybe you just probably didn't hear about the other adaptations of Ogon Batto, correct? No. From this point forward, anything relating to Ogon Batto would be satire from a different, would either be unrelated satire or a pitch that never saw the light of day. First one of this was Ogon Batto is on the Way, released on March 13, 1972. Now, this one was a biopic satire which portrayed Ogon Batto as being fat and incompetent, and it also has a bit of an impact with what exactly it was produced on here. This was produced by Toho, and it was the very first film under their subdivision Toho Aiga, which was now the subdivision that's focused on their sci-fi films, like the Godzilla films of the 1970s. Another thing also is that it also stars Kenji Kobayashi, which for some of you may not be a familiar name, but here's a role you guys may be familiar with. He was the Prime Minister in The Return of Godzilla, aka Godzilla 84, to connect it to a certain irradiated dinosaur. Now, the next adaptation that we're going to delve into is one from South Korea. Young-gu and the Golden Bat. This one mostly plays it up for laughs, but much like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, Ogon Batto and the other characters are played straight, which juxtaposed to the more comedic antics of the Korean child icon Gu. Now, the story plays out no different from the other Kamishibais, and really, in the end, it's just, you can almost say it's kind of like fan fiction. But it's alright if you ever try to watch that. It's on YouTube. You try to look it up. But here's some interesting information I was able to find about Gu. Originally known as Namji Nam, originally his name being Namji Nam, he works mostly when it comes to comedy, science fiction, and anime. Now he had a very great friendship when it came to Shun Ray. This is the same man who gave us the Hungary remake and Dragon Wars. Now, to go on to the final thing for today, would be the 2000 revitalization of the series for young generation. New Ogon Batto, aka Shin Ogon Batto, if you prefer, was made by the 2000s by the Anime International Company in order to gain interest for it. It was directed by Shinichi Watanabe, known for Lupin III, and adapting the Excel saga. Now, let's not find the reason why this was never picked up is actually kind of obvious, because at this point, Ogon Batto wasn't enough of a relevant face for Japan to really be interested in it. If there's one thing that I've learned about from friends who have lived in Japan, or at least have visited there, they would know, at least from what they told me, a lot of Japanese individuals really know a lot of these characters today, like Ultraman, Kamen Rider, or any of those characters, because they were shown constantly to them. Hell, I'll give you a perfect example of a story that I've learned. One of them was that they didn't even remember Godzilla until Shin Godzilla came out 2 years ago. Think about that for a second. Now, despite that, there hasn't been a legit adaptation, there have been several things that were inspired off of Ogon Batto, whether it be intentional or not. One example would be from a popular kids cartoon that's still going on today. Now, there was one episode of Ogon Batto, of the original 60 series, where Ogon Batto would have to fight not only Nazo, but a group of fishmen led by their queen. The thing is, she resembled a certain character from Steven Universe. Now, I actually tried to get into contact with the creator to ask, what was the process of, if this was intentional or not, whether or not it was just a coincidence. But sadly, I got no response. So I'm going to go with it. Now, the last other thing that we'll discuss, and then I'll try to end it off now, would be the manga adaptation of Watchmen, released in 1991, written and illustrated by Isaru Yoshida. There are 11 volumes, and to put it simply, it was basically Ogon Batto meets the Terminator. As awesome as that sounds, it's actually very different from that. It was more of a slice-of-life comedy with action and science fiction elements. It's a great, it's the only other thing that's also available here in the US, and I highly recommend checking it out. But now, we'll leave ourselves off with one question. What's next for the character? And I'm going to answer that I'm going to give my own personal point of view on that, and that's nothing. I want to give you guys a little insight on why this panel even began. See, 1 year ago, I came here like all of you, and I was kind of hoping that there would be a panel on the character, because last year was the anime's official 50th anniversary. And I just got into the character, and I figured that someone would have been able to do it on the character, and there was nothing. I mean, I don't blame anyone at G-Fest for that. I don't blame anyone for that at all, but that just shows how obscure he is. Someone who means so much when it comes to superheroes in general, and he's just been forgotten. However, there may be a small glimmer of hope. Last year, around the same time, Toei decided to re-release the anime, fully revitalize it, and putting on streaming sites like Unext and Anime Kodai, which are basically their equivalent of Netflix and Hulu. It isn't much, but it's a start. And hopefully, maybe today, maybe a movement will start for at least Ogon Batto getting something. Maybe the live action film and the anime getting released by Criterion, Shop Factory. I don't know. All I know is we can only hope. Let's see. It is around 1:55. So I'll